Live on a Friday afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. What a time to be alive. Welcome, one and all, to your favorite NFL podcast. A little bit off schedule this week, but it's for good reason, ladies and gentlemen, because we have the greatest of happenings here on the 90th episode of the Sports Agents of Chaos podcast. Thank you all so much for joining us on a weekly basis on this absolute hoopla of a podcast that was started well over a year and a half ago by a couple guys that were like, hey, remember when we used to talk NFL back at work? Let's do that for other people to listen to. But in all seriousness, guys, welcome to the show, the SAOC podcast, the podcast that you all know and, well, hopefully love if you listen to us on a weekly basis. And we are here for what is set to be an amazing talk of the finale of the 2023 NFL season, regular season-wise, but more importantly, the finale of the 2023 hashtag SAOC pick challenge, the Podfather versus the Games Master. Oh, what a battle it's going to be. But before we get to that, we have a little bit to talk about. But before we even get to that, a bunch of befores, let's get to the present. My co-hosts, this troublesome, truculent trio that is always here on a weekly basis. First, joining me on the top of the screen with me, he is the Games Master of this program. Our guy, the man, the myth, the legend, in flu game part 5 on this podcast for him at this point. He gets sick a lot. I don't know what's wrong with your immune system.
Yeah.
I don't get what's up with the immune system here, brother. But Justin is with us. Justin, how we doing?
No games today. All right, this is serious. I'm not losing in the finals again. All right.
Yes.
I'm gonna take Rick down.
Yes, indeed. Oh, them's his fighting words right there, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, Justin, two appearances now in the SAOC Pick Challenge finale. Anyone that knows what happened last year knows what happened. He is here to come back. He is here to finish his story.
Lovey Smith.
But the man that could stop him from finishing his story, he is at the bottom of the screen. You see him with a smile on his face. You see him with the, I don't know what shade of it is, so I'm just going to generically say hot pink sweater that he is wearing at this time. I don't know if it's hot pink or not. I don't know colors, man. I don't have that palette. Maybe it is the lighting, actually. But with the sweater, with the green shirt in a fantastic office room that we learned belongs to his lovely wife, the Podfather, Rick. Rick, how we doing?
This color is actually called Victory Red, by the way. And after Sunday, I will be reading the book called The Fault in Our Justins. So I'm ready to go too. This is
Rick. If it is pink, my mom has a tracksuit just like that.
Hey, real men wear pink. Just saying.
Mm-hmm.
But this is red.
He's not wrong, ladies and gentlemen.
Santa.
Thank you for confirming that for us and for the people. But ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be quite the episode. You can tell by the title. It's the title for a reason. It is the main event of this show this week. It's going to be the Podfather versus Justin, the Pick Challenge that we've been building up for, that we've been doing this entire season. Culminates here. Myself, I am out of it, but the greatest third place finisher in podcast history is here to at least host the proceedings as we have these two. Rick is still going to tally things, but I'm here as a little bit of a buffer just to ensure that there's funny business here by Rick. There's plenty of Italian roots that down there. Rick is one to rig things for the bookies if he has a chance. So we're going to make sure that no rigging against Justin happens here.
No run numbers in Corona. Fine.
On this edition of the Pick Challenge, of course, that is the main event. But before we get to that, we need to start things off. You guys know the tagline of the show: fun, football, and chaos. Well, this is going to be plenty of chaos at the end. It's going to be a combination of all three at the end here. Let's start with a little bit of fun, a little bit of brevity before going into that. Rick, it's been a little bit since we've had this crazy thing, scheduling and all that, but it's time for the return of Rick's mind-blowing fact of the week.
This one's going to be just straightforward. There's no further explanation to it after that part. Hey, you see my bottom tagline. Yeah. Who knew Sugar had bottom taglines too? This is great. Awesome. So, gentlemen, 1,000 is the first number chronologically when written out that contains the letter A. That's it. That's all you got.
That's it?
Yeah. Why do I have to explain that to you? I give you further explanation about Steve Teach being an Oscar winner.
There's not much history with that.
No, there's not. It's the English alphabet. It's 1,000. There's an A. That's it. If you want to tally up every other number and spell it out, we'll be here until 9:15 on Tuesday morning.
Well, not phonetically, Rick.
True.
Well, let's keep it simple. So there 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He's not wrong actually. Oh, so there it is.
100, and then hundreds, and the teens, and then the
300, 400,
1,000.
What's more mind blowing to you, Justin? The fact that that's the fact itself, or the fact that that's all he brought and he had no preamble whatsoever.
I was expecting a lot more like lengthwise, but I mean, my mind is blown. I've never thought of that before.
Right?
Yeah,
it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I could have say I have other facts that I'm saving for for other days. I could have told you about how Falcons get passports in the Middle East, the eagle from Russia who bankrupted a scientific study. I got plenty of these. The cadaver synod. I got
How
plenty.
many of them are bird based?
Just those two. Just those two. Unless you want to count the guy named Twitty who was drafted in the same MLB draft as Elway and Marino, but that's different. But, yeah, I got a bunch. But that one was just short, sweet, to the point because we know why we're here. And it's not for mind-blowing facts. It's for picks and coaches getting fired. And, yeah. So there you go.
I mean, good sir, how dare you? The people are here for the games. But yes, you are right.
There is okay. You want another one? You want another one? I'll give you another one, just so you have a better idea. Vanilla is an ingredient in chocolate.
I think we all know that. I think we all heard that fact when we were like 5 years old.
Yeah. Well, there you go. For those that didn't know, well, I do this show for 5-year-olds too, because I'm the only one who hasn't sworn on the show in 90 episodes. 90 goddamn episodes haven't sworn on the show, so
Justin's raising his eyes like you were close there.
No, I know I was close. I always get to the edge. But
because we hear him talk in the pre-show, that's why.
That's very true. I mean, this can be confirmed, and we don't really need to do the math. Rick has never cursed on air before.
All right,
he's done plenty of that off air.
You know what? Just for you guys, one more because I'm running out of these. The National Toy Hall of Fame, gentlemen.
Okay.
It includes the following items. Every year they do like a Toy Hall of Fame induction or whatever. The following items have been included in the Toy Hall of Fame: the cardboard box, the stick, bubbles, and sand in the sandbox.
I mean, all universally loved toys.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
I see no issue with this list. I thought the real thing is like, are we close to knowing what the Toy Hall of Fame induction class of 2024 is?
We probably already know what it is at this point, but there was
I
also
can promise you I don't.
there was some. So okay. I have the 2023 finalists here for you, if you will.
Okay,
if you're
let's
interested.
hear it. Let's hear it.
Baseball cards.
I don't know if that's much of a toy, but okay.
Battleship.
Hall of Famer.
Bingo.
Hall of Famer.
Bop It.
Hall of
Absolute Famer. First ballot Hall of Famer right there.
This better be the first year it's on the ballot.
Cabbage Patch Kids.
I'm not a fan of it, but I could see it.
Interesting one. Choose Your Own Adventure game books. Basically the old school version of here's the iPad, don't talk to me in the restaurant. Because that's how parenting is nowadays.
Yep.
Connect 4. Ken, not Barbie, but Ken.
I'm sure Barbie's in there already.
Barbie's
I
right.
was going to say, Ken deserves a little bit of love.
The Little Tykes Cozy Coupe, the car with the red chassis, the trunk, the working doors, all of that. Nerf toys. So not any Nerf toy at all, just the whole Nerf toys brand, apparently, for some reason.
That encompasses a lot.
It does. Slime, which that past its prime with Nickelodeon. I'm sorry, but that was the time to induct it.
Kids love slime though.
Yeah, but now it's become like a thing. And the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So if we had to do a Hall of Fame for toys, then we had to do that. I don't know who we pick.
That's a wide-ranging list.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Those have some veterans in there and then some first ballots.
Oh yeah.
Well, this is for another time here. We have more pressing matters to get to, ladies and gentlemen, like our pick challenge. That's totally legitimate that we will have a trophy for. But I have to wonder, are video games in the Toy Hall of Fame? Or is that its own thing?
Well, I mean, the Atari 2600 was in the 07 class. And the Game Boy was in the 09 class. So here's the best thing. This was started in 1999, the National Toy Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. It took them 10 years to induct the ball into the Hall of Fame. 10 years.
Hey, no one said they're perfect.
Because a ball's not a toy, Rick. Ball is life.
Well, true, but if ball is life, ball's got to be in the hall. Put the ball in the hall.
So, Jesus. All right. Well, that being said, ladies and gentlemen, as we plan for the Toy Hall of Fame to come back up during the off-season episodes, because if you're new to the show, the off-season, we get a little bit finicky and creative when it comes
to deserve better.
Content. Yeah, indeed, to say the very least. We'll get back to this at some point. But as we leave the Toy Hall of Fame behind us, let's talk about, maybe some Hall of Fame type performances we might see this weekend, as it is the final week of the 2023 NFL season. And guys, still so much to play for. And I would just like to first and foremost say the fact that we have week 18 with many legitimate stakes here on the line, I gotta say, it's pretty refreshing. It's really a refreshing change of pace. I remember going into last week, I think, or it was last week or week 16, the fact that there were still 20 plus teams alive in the playoff race was the first time that had been the case since 2015, I think the stat was, or 2016. So the fact that we've had a close season, now, granted, does that mean that all these teams that were still in, or technically good teams? No, none whatsoever. But that being said, the fact that it was still competitive and that these games still have meaning to them is what mattered. And we went through in a very brief way last week, because again, time constraints, what was on the line last week, and still a lot on the line this week. So I'm going to very briefly go through this, and we are going to touch upon some of these in the games we'll be discussing, because we will be discussing a combination of the standings in the games that will be happening this weekend and what there is on the line for a lot of this. So I think the most obvious thing that you can easily identify right away, if we just start with the AFC, is the AFC East is still on the line, and it will be the final regular season game of this year. It will be the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. The Baltimore Ravens handled business. They beat the Dolphins last week, as was expected, and they are the official number one seed in the AFC. The Browns already clinched their wild card spot previously, so the Browns are the only confirmed wild card team as of now. But they will be joined here pretty shortly once Saturday ends. But the last game of the regular season is Dolphins-Bills. The AFC East crown is on the line. The Dolphins already clinched the playoffs, so if they lose, they are still in this. So they would be the second wild card if the Dolphins end up losing this. If the Bills lose, it's a little bit trickier there, because the Bills actually could be eliminated. They have not clinched their playoff spot yet, to say the very least. You continue to go down in the standings. So many teams still alive. The AFC South is up for grabs. It is going to be between the winner of the Texans and Colts game, which is happening on Saturday. We'll get to that, because someone here was not a fan of the fact that that's a Saturday game. And the Jaguars are 9-7. They have their own game to finish the season against the Titans. It's simple: win and the division is theirs. Lose and Maron, it's going to be really complicated for them to get in. And of course, the Chiefs clinched the AFC West, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are still alive in the playoff race. We'll see if they arrive properly to the game this Saturday, and perform to the standard. Meanwhile, in the NFC here, we'll go into more detail of everything here in a moment, ladies and gentlemen. In the NFC, the East is in the Cowboys' hands. Win, and it belongs to them. The Eagles need the Cowboys to lose. What a dip that has been for the Philadelphia Eagles when you consider the start they had to the year, how good they were in seemingly looking, but how everything has fallen apart ever since then. So you have that situation. The Detroit Lions are good. They've clinched their playoff spot. In theory, they could still be playing for plenty, because they are in contention for playing for that second seed. They need some things to break right for them. But the Lions do have a chance at the second seed in the NFC. So despite no first round bye, that means having 2 home playoff games before the NFC Championship game, which, if you're Detroit, I think Detroit would love to lock that in if they could. The NFC South. Jesus Christ, this division. Unfortunately, someone can make the playoffs in this division. And the funnier part is that a team could finish below 500 and win this division. It's absolutely terrible, to say the very least. But the NFC South is on the line. It is Falcons Saints in week 18. The Falcons need to win that to keep their hopes alive, and the Buccaneers would need to lose. If the Saints win, then they would need the Bucs to lose or tie. Tie is always up there. But all three of those teams could technically win. And the Buccaneers is a simple win-in situation. They're facing the Carolina Panthers. In the NFC as a whole, the wild card is still up there, because the Seahawks, the Vikings, and the Packers are all in the discussion for the wild card hunt in terms of things to be clinched and stuff. The Rams did clinch one of the wild cards last week, so congratulations to them. And we obviously know, I just mentioned it before, either the Eagles or the Cowboys will be the other wild card team, and they will be the highest of all the wild card seeds, meaning they will face the NFC South winner. So congrats. If you're one of those NFC East teams, do you kind of want to tank it to make sure you get the easiest possible matchup realistically? I mean, come on. But no, in all seriousness, that is the case there. So, boys, That is the situation across the AFC and the NFC. Let's get to the game discussion itself. Rick, I'm going to throw this straight away to you because I know you're probably the one that has the hottest of, you've been waiting to get on the mic to talk about this. And we didn't get a chance to do this like we did last season, but before last season, hopefully we get to do this next year, where we, as a show, predicted what we thought were going to be the 2 Saturday games and what was going to be the slate on Sunday, right? We didn't get a chance to do that this year. We had a feeling that they were going to do a relatively good job, and the NFL would perceive this as a good job because if they're going to do the 2 Saturday games, they believe that Saturday still means not that still means something. They believe that the Saturday games will be focused in, they get their own attention, and that there is not too much to worry about throughout the day. But Rick, I know what your biggest gripe with this is. Obviously, that the Steelers, we have to see them first this week. No, in all seriousness, Steelers Ravens are the first game on Saturday. They are the 4:30 p.m. game. And then the 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. The start is Texans-Colts. Rick, I know that's the biggest stick in the craw for you. Talk about it. Texans-Colts. Why do you think that this is a perceived slight against both of those teams, that they should have been one of the primetime games on Sunday?
We're allowed on this show to knock the AFC South because that's what we've been doing for 2 years. Because the AFC South and the NFC South have been by far the, by God, in the words of Jim Ross, worst divisions in the National Football League. But it's almost unfair of the National Football League to marginalize the work that Houston and Indianapolis have done to kind of overcome the stigmas, the injuries, and everything else by putting them on a Saturday night. Saturday night's fine. But putting them on Saturday night when they're not even going to know if they win the division until the next day. Like, if you're going to put 2 games on Saturday, put 2 games on Saturday that will solve a division, that will not leave you hanging, leave the cliffhanger going until the next day. Because
doesn't it clinch a playoff spot if they win?
Not necessarily. No, because Pittsburgh, I think if Pittsburgh wins, they could still knock one of them out because they have the tiebreaker.
Pittsburgh could knock out Houston, but if the Colts win, they clinch a playoff spot.
But okay, and that's fine. That's all fine and good. But then again, if Jacksonville loses, you still have that that. What I'm saying is that if you're going to do this, do it clean. Either make it one division or put 2 games in that make no sense. Put games that are inconsequential. This could have been a good spot for the NFC East to go, because like Jerk said, you already have your wild card spot locked. They're already the 5 seed in the wild card. Dallas or Philadelphia are going to be either the 2 or the 3. Fine. Put those 2 games on that same slate and make that the game. Understandable that you want to put them on the same time slot, but to me, you're marginalizing a really, really good Texans season, a surprisingly good Colts season, by putting them on a Saturday night. And let's be honest here, Saturday night at 8:15, who's watching this game nationally? I understand, the idea of a time slot is great and all, but it's Houston versus Indianapolis. You already kind of throw out the East, the West, because they don't really see this as significant in a way. When it marginalizes C.J. Stroud and the Colts and all these younger talents that are there. And I get the idea of wanting to put an energetic matchup there, but you could have done so much better than this. You could have either put them together or put the Texans on Sunday when it mattered. Last year, and look, I will not knock this. I think this year they got the Sunday night game right. Buffalo versus Miami, I think, is the correct Sunday night game to put on. Even though last year I said they could have put on the AFC South game and called it a day. And I don't know if they did or not. I forget. It was a year ago. Lots changed in my life. Forgive me. But tonight, this was the right call this time around to put this game in the Sunday night slot. But I don't know. I think Houston versus Indy deserves better. Deserves better than an 8:15 p.m. Saturday evening slot when the odds are maybe you're watching it, but you're watching more on Sunday because that's football day. Saturday, you're kind of losing it a little bit for me. There's a game of this magnitude. Put the Chiefs. The Chiefs are right there. I understand. It's a game that doesn't matter. Put the Chiefs. Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce. It's right there. That will draw immediately. Come on.
They're not playing.
Yeah, I will say this. I think that I'm getting at it because I was actually just going through the stats and all the information for that game. So this is actually a win and in situation for both of these teams and I think that's why they combined it with Steelers Ravens earlier in the day, because here's the case. If the Steelers do technically win their game against the Ravens, that would, and I'm assuming the standard here would be like the tiebreaker is so convoluted because there's like 5 different things that you could go to. But I believe the tiebreaker situation that they would be going to first would be conference wins. So if conference wins is the decider, then I think it would be if the Colts win and the Steelers win, it is for sure the Colts, no doubt, because of the conference win situation, because the Colts would then be at 8 conference wins to the Steelers 7s, so the Colts are in. But if the Texans win and the Steelers win, yes, they'll be tied at conference record, but according to the breakdown, the Texans get the next tiebreaker over the Steelers. So this is actually a definitive win and in situation. So the Steelers need something to break their way. Maybe this is the year of the infamous Colts-Texans tie that happens. But that's more so what needs to be the case. So this is a win and in situation for this game. And I think it kind of makes sense that it's paired with the Steelers game because it is the Steelers' future is decided like partially in their hands, but partially what happens in this game.
Okay, fine. Then I'll make a suggestion then. Move Jacksonville, Tennessee to Saturday as well.
No, I don't blame it. I don't blame it because
that's more my thing. If you're gonna do 2 games and they're not gonna be in the same division, if Jacksonville, Tennessee is also for the division, if Jacksonville wins, then move that to Saturday as well. Make it a 3-game Saturday, triple header, and then let it be decided from there.
Well, they put the Colts-Texans game on first because if they put the Jaguars game on first, and the Jaguars win, that game immediately loses certain meaning.
Isn't Colts-Texans second on the night?
No, he means compared to the Jags game.
If the Jags game goes first,
the
Jags game goes anytime before that Colts-Texans game, then the game loses meaning. It's potentially for the division right now. If they lose, which I don't necessarily think they're going to lose, but if the Jacksonville Jaguars lose to the Tennessee Titans on Sunday, that game was just a divisional championship matchup. Not only was it a playoff spot, but now you're in a 4 seed, you're hosting a playoff game. And it's 2 young, up-and-coming teams. I think it made sense to put him on the 8 o'clock slot. Like, look, it's the NFL. It's going to draw. You can put it on a Tuesday at midday. They'll find ways to get a drawing. Obviously, there's time slots that are better than others, but Saturday night has not historically been a bad time. There's a reason they put playoff games on Sunday nights. I mean, on Saturday nights.
Yeah.
So it's not a bad spot. I think these are the 2 most meaningful games, honestly. I mean, the Baltimore Steelers game is a huge game, but, like, it's meaningless for one team. You're not going to see most of the players for the Ravens. The Steelers might just easily grasp that game and coast into whatever they have during the offseason and or playoffs.
Yeah.
This is really, like, I mean, short of what? Packers-Vikings or Packers-Bears, I'm sorry, which is not a huge game, and the NFC South stuff. I mean, these were the 2 games, and I think they had to have chosen right.
Yeah, I do kind of get what Rick is saying. It would be nice to see definitively a division wrapped up on Saturday. But I also think for that not being the case, I think this actually was a good selection, kind of like you said, Justin.
The only other one that you could have put would have been Bucks,
Panthers, and Saints.
Yeah. But then again, if you put the Bucks on Saturday night, then that Falcons-Saints game can be meaningless on Sunday. You don't want to take away ratings.
Well, no, what he's saying is that you would put both the NFC South games on the same day, so that you would put Falcons Saints first to see if either of that, like, who still has a chance going into the Bucks Panthers Saturday night game. I think that's what Rick's. He's not saying that.
No, I wouldn't put the Bucks game first. I would put the Bucks game last because
you'd have to put the Bucks game last.
Elimination round almost, you know.
You'd have to put the Bucks because if you put the Bucks game first and the Bucks win, then nobody's going to watch the Saturday night game. Nobody cares.
Yeah, I get what Rick's idea is that make it a little bit more tangible because yes, you are right, Justin. This is potentially for the AFC South, and when it comes to the Steelers, the situation with the Steelers is that if the Steelers still
is a meaningless game for the Ravens, they need to win because they could possibly make a playoff game, but they need help. And even if it wasn't for a playoff game, Steelers-Ravens is a draw.
But that's also my thing too, is that we know that Lamar Jackson's not playing for the Ravens.
The Steelers draw.
So they do draw. Of course, I completely agree with you. But the point I'm trying to make, though, is that, like, if you – because correct me if I'm wrong, even if the Jaguars win the division, the Colts-Texans game is for something. Yes. So Jaguars – I get what you're saying. If the Jaguars game was first and they won, it wouldn't mean. But if the Jaguars game was first and they lost, then you immediately have a division championship game on a Saturday night.
Yeah, but are you willing to take that risk ratings-wise?
Well, Lawrence isn't playing, or he's iffy. So
yeah, but I'm
not
taking that chance.
It's also 4:30 on a Saturday.
They're also playing the Titans with Ryan Tannehill, so, like, it's not.
And what happened a couple of years ago with this game?
Nothing. You're thinking of Colts Jaguars.
Well,
The Colts have a
but
division.
again, this is the division
Jaguars
where
won one game before
this
that.
is a division where things get crazy. So
No, look, I'm not saying not, but if you're the NFL, you're taking the sure thing. Last week of the year before the playoffs, you're taking the sure thing, and I'm not risking what could become a meaningless game later on in the day in a primetime spot by putting a game that could change the complete contention of the game coming later.
No, that's fair. Here's the thing. I don't disagree with either of you. I think like this is a thing where we can meet down the middle where I think for the situation, they picked a really good situation for the Saturday games, but I get what Rick is saying where I think to me playoffs is a bit of a different situation, but it would be nice if one of the last games of the year just in general, I know these are all technically the last 16 games, but it would have been cool if Texans Colts could have been it's not going to be the last game of the year because we know Bills Dolphins was always going to be that, but one of the 4:00 games with in conjunction maybe that Jags game. Like the 3-4 o'clock games could have been Jags Titans, Texans Colts, and Steelers Ravens. That all could have been the case.
I will say this. It would have made, if they were going to do it at any year, it would have made sense because let's say the Jags do win, they're at 4:00 and they do win, it's still for a playoff spot.
right.
You know what I mean? So like if they would have put that there, it's a win-win situation. Either it's a game the Jaguars lose, they're out of contention, and now all of a sudden it's like a major thing for Jacksonville. Plus we have the later game now for the division between two young teams and an up-and-coming quarterback who's a rookie who's been lights out this year. Or Jaguars win, they clinch the division. Who is going to make that 6th and 7th seed? Maybe if they tied, maybe both could win. I mean, the Texans could theoretically lose and still make it in, correct? Or would they need a lot more help?
No, I think the loser of this game is automatically out.
Yeah. So
the situation is that with this, like it's a guaranteed win and in, just generically in the playoffs. But if the Jags lose and the Steelers win, that's what gets the Steelers in the playoffs. So like that's why Rick's argument is he's not saying that you still separate those games by so much. He's saying that it still could have been these 3 games altogether, but in the 4:00 slot on Sunday to prepare us then for the Dolphins Bills on Sunday night. I think that's more what his argument is.
And the other thing too is that kind of leads into the Bills Dolphins discussion because yes, it's for the division. But if certain results go a certain way, Buffalo's also playing to save their playoff lives because Miami's already clinched. If certain results go a different way, Buffalo is either a division winner or they're out.
how could they be out? What do they need to happen for them to be out?
Who?
Buffalo.
Bills.
The Bills?
Yeah. They need the Steelers and they need either the Texans or the Colts. Does it matter which team wins?
I think it's solely because I think I think it's just the Steelers, if I'm not mistaken.
I'll check.
Well, I think also my bad. It's the Steelers and the Jags results that matter because the Jags also a Jags loss gets them at 9-8. A loss for the Bills keeps them at 10. So the Steelers and the Jags games are more intertwined. Where if those two lose, the Bills can still get in.
Oh, okay. So the Jaguars need to win for the Bills to be eliminated.
So if the Bills win, they clinch the 2nd seed on the division title. Miami's already in regardless.
Correct.
If the Bills lose and Pittsburgh wins and Jacksonville wins, regardless of what happens in the Houston-Indianapolis game, whoever wins that is getting in over Buffalo.
Okay. And I mean, short of a tie, obviously.
Right, of course, short of a tie.
So what I'm saying is that depending on the result of Texans-Colts, the Bills, well, also Steelers-Ravens, the Bills need results.
I think Texans Colts tie again.
Pittsburgh wins, Jacksonville wins, Buffalo loses. Whoever wins Houston-Indy is in.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's kind of the odd permutation too. Buffalo, Miami is playing for the 2 seed, but they're already in, so they could be the 5 or the 6 depending on how that game shakes out if they lose. Which, incidentally, further down the line, Miami going to Kansas City, if that's the 3-6 matchup, we get the Tyreek Hill game in the postseason.
Yes.
Where he's going home. But
the NFL Galaxy brained it all along. They put the first one in Germany.
Buffalo loses that game. Other results have happened. Like, that's the thing. Buffalo's kind of waiting it out. If Pittsburgh and Jacksonville both win, Buffalo's starting everybody. But if Pittsburgh and Jacksonville or one of them lose, Buffalo's kind of already in a way. So they could rest Josh Allen after a half if they wanted to.
Well, they would also need, if Buffalo wins, they would also need Cleveland to lose, right? Does Cleveland have the tiebreaker over Miami? Or does Miami have the tiebreaker?
The
Because
Browns
if Miami has
are
the
locked into the
tiebreaker,
5. The Browns are locked into the 5.
no matter what.
No matter what happens. The Browns
Okay.
are locked into the 5. So Miami would fall to the 6.
Okay.
But again, if they win, they're the 2, and then we shake things out from there. It's a lot more fun when the teams have winning records, NFC South. So
I think the Bucks will clinch that one.
Save your picks there, hombre.
We
But
got 2 out of 3. We got a 2 out of 3 shot.
I want chaos. Give me the Falcons because that's my team.
Arthur Smith needs to be fired.
Yeah. Well, you want to talk about like the way the NFL packed it all together, which I think they did a good job. So moving aside from the Saturday games, as we've discussed, let's look at the slate on Sunday. So the 1:00 games, Bucks, Panthers, and Falcons, Saints are all 1:00. So by 4:30 p.m. By 4:30 p.m. Sunday Eastern Standard Time, the NFC South will know how to feel about its season as a whole, which should also in turn lead to some firings happening there. But unfortunately for some NFC South fans, apparently some of these coaches have better job security than we thought, which I feel so bad for your teams. Lions Vikings is in the 1:00 hour, so we will know the fate of the Minnesota Vikings if they still have a playoff shot. And also if the Lions get that win, then it puts a bit of pressure on the Eagles and the Cowboys because they're not only still competing for the division, but they're also still competing ultimately for the second seed in the NFC, which we now know the Cowboys have that definitive advantage over the Lions because, Brad Allen. And that's not a player, ladies and gentlemen, if you're slow to the news. So there's that. And then you go to and I believe, Jets Patriots is also there in the 1:00 hour, which there's some significance only because that could be the final career of Bill Belichick's coaching tenure. The final game of Bill Belichick's coaching tenure with the Patriots. We will see what the case is there. And then Browns Bengals is there as well.
It's there.
Yeah, it just exists. In the 4:00 slate of games, you have Seahawks, Cardinals. Seahawks, of course, are competing for their playoff lives, as are the Green Bay Packers. So both those games matter next to each other. The Chiefs, Chargers, just there. The Broncos, Raiders,
just there.
And then this is the big thing. The Rams, 49ers, sort of there. Although Carson Wentz versus Sam Darnold. What a quarterback clash that is to be.
The Rams aren't locked into the 6, are they?
No, they are. They've clinched their playoff spot.
But no, are they locked into the 6 though, or they fall to the 7, depending on results?
I believe they could fall. Well, if it's the Seahawks that get the 7th, the Rams swept them this year. So I think no matter what, the Rams are good on that end. If the Seahawks are the 7th seed, the 6th seed is automatically theirs. If it's the Packers, then the conversation becomes a little bit different.
Rams win, they're the 6.
Yes.
Rams lose, Green Bay wins, they're the 7.
Yes. So that is the case there. Or if it's Rams lose, but the Seahawks or the Vikings are the 7th seed, the Rams are set. So
Correct.
They don't have to worry about that at the 6th, which could create interesting matchups. And then, of course, the big games of that, Eagles at New York and then Cowboys at Washington. And those two clashes that will decide. Again, there's a lot on the line between both of those. There's the NFC second seed. There's the NFC East crown, which the Eagles are trying to break something here, boys. There haven't been back-to-back NFC East champions since the early 2000s of the Donovan McNabb Eagles. So very long that there hasn't been back-to-back champions in that division. So we will ultimately see what comes up there. And, of course, the last game of this NFL regular season. Let's talk a little bit about this one here before we get to the picks because – well, unless there's anything in the previous set that you guys want to expand upon more, real quick. Anything? No, you're all right. Cool. Just want to make sure. Just want to make sure we want to hit all things equally. We love and hate all things equally on this podcast. Well, hate is a strong word. Critique is, I think, the better word. As the
loathe,
as the subtitles under these two names would say, that we just love firing coaches on the show. Apparently, so let's go to the last game of the regular season that is projected. Currently, the Buffalo Bills are a 2.5-point favorite in this one. It is in Miami. The game is on NBC. Set your DVRs. Well, we would hope you're actually just going to be watching the game live. Dolphins, Bills, AFC East on the line. As Rick said, second seed on the line. Buffalo's playoff odds on the line. And maybe Goodwill and Mike McDaniel on the line? Question mark? I think it's worth talking about. Justin, I'm going to throw it to you first. What are you expecting from this game being the final game of this regular season in terms of these two teams just going guns blazing against each other? Because these two teams, especially the last 2 years where the Dolphins have made the playoffs and now are making the playoffs again, a lot more intensity going into these Bills-Dolphins games.
Honestly, very, very truly, I don't really expect this game to be close. Buffalo's been dominant over Miami in the last few years. It's been proven that if you are a good football team, odds are you're probably going to beat the Miami Dolphins at this point, especially now with the injuries that they've suffered on defense. Unfortunately for them, their defense has been very unhealthy all year long. I don't even want to say it's an issue with coaching. I mean, now they're going to be out Bradley Chubb, who just tore his ACL in a game where he probably shouldn't have even been playing at that point because they were getting blown out by the Ravens, who clinched the #1 seed last week. Look, it's not a huge thing. If Buffalo goes up big in the first half, I wouldn't even be surprised if they just pull some of their guys. Like, look, let's just stay healthy. We have a playoff spot. We are playing. Who's the 3 seed now? The Chiefs.
Yeah,
a team who is a good team, but they almost beat earlier in the year. So, and they didn't play their best game against them. I expect them to try and stay healthy, and whatever it is, their health is going to be the main concern. Now, that being said, am I rooting for the Bills to win? Absolutely not. I think it would be hilarious if the Bills missed the playoffs. After all the big talk every year now, they have that, this team is a Super Bowl contender. It seems like they got better, blah, blah, blah. And there's always something missing with this team. And that just sparks a little evil bit of joy in my heart that, only a contending team in the division could have. And not that the Jets are contenders in anything, but yeah, I don't expect it to be very close. Like I said, it could be, if it's 35-12 at halftime, I'm not going to be like, what? No way. Like, I'm pretty sure that's what it was at the beginning of the year. So,
which is so interesting to me, though, because Justin, I'm going to take you back to the very last week before the first week of the season. Buffalo was your 1 seed in your playoff predictions.
They were?
They were. And the Chargers were your 2 seed because you had them winning a tiebreaker over the Chiefs.
Justin's just what was Justin?
Yeah. I had them 16-1. It's fine. Whatever. No big deal.
Justin's just like, what the heck was I on before the season started?
No, look, I'm pretty sure I had them high up in a lot of my playoff predictions because I did a few in a few different mediums and places and things like that. I never had them winning the Super Bowl. They're a one and done team in the playoffs for me, or maybe two.
Actually, you this in ours, you had them losing the conference championship to the Jets.
Yeah, and they lost
and losing.
Yeah,
which, to be fair, probably accurate. I mean, if all things were equal. Yeah. But you're absolutely right on all of your points. Like, we talked about it. This game could matter for the Bills, or it could be nothing. I mean, they could already have a playoff spot sewn up by this point, which could mean they either run it back to Miami if they fall to the 7 seed, or they go to Kansas City if they're the 6, or they host somebody if they're the 2.
Well, to be fair, which one of these teams, if you're one of these teams, which one of you wants to host a playoff game versus go into Kansas City? I don't care what you tell me about Kansas City being off. I don't want to go into Kansas City.
No,
I don't want to do it.
I don't either, especially in the postseason. But
this is not, no matter what, this is not a meaningless game.
It's not, but something about them just doesn't seem right, And
I'm not saying not, but
and I'm more scared of Baltimore than I am of Kansas City right now, which is
Absolutely.
funny, which is ironic because Baltimore has lost guys too to injury. Mark Andrews, J.K. Dobbins.
They said Andrews might actually be back soon.
Well, but they don't need him because Isaiah Likely is turning up.
Andrews coming back would be wild.
Isaiah Likely has been phenomenal in the second half of the season for them. Like, they haven't
as
missed
soon as
a
he
beat.
got hurt, which is the same thing that happened last year.
They haven't missed a beat. But this has the potential to be a Brandon Staley-like scenario for the Dolphins. If Bradley Chubb's injury, I understand, but if Bradley Chubb's injury, because again, this could have been so easily avoided. Why was he in when they were down 30 points?
I'm not saying it's not a major mistake. It was a major mistake. He should not have been in. Absolutely. But let's not compare. It's completely different. Brandon Staley is a defensive guy who's coaching the worst defense in the league by a lot.
I'm not referring to that.
Game star players.
I'm not referring to that at all.
Mike McDaniel shows up in Miami, and they have the hottest offense that we've ever seen.
But
I understand that they have top players and stuff too. But
but that's not what I'm referring to.
And then there's costing legitimate games and being one of the worst coaches in the league. I'm not going to take. He made more than one mistake this year, but I'm not going to take a coaching mistake like that, a singular mistake, and compare him to a coach that was.
I'm not even
very
talking about
clearly
this year,
deserving of
though,
fired.
Justin. I'm not talking about this year. I'm talking about
about
last
next
year.
year. I know what you're talking about.
Week 18, Mike
There's-
Williams. Like, Mike Williams didn't need to play. The Chargers were locked into their seat. He didn't need to play, and he fractured his back, and they were down one of their best receivers.
Yeah, but Mike Williams is a number 2 guy. Like, it's not even like he's.
But still, like, you want to be at full strength in the playoffs if you can be, so you avoid that stuff in Week 18 by starting Sam Darnold and by starting,
the issue
Jeff
last year?
Driscoll of all teams.
Was the issue last year Mike Williams, or was it giving up a 4-touchdown lead?
That I agree with, but again, like, everything kind of like they could have been up by more points if they had their full offense at full strength. I agree, the defense was terrible, but
I don't think so. They played a pretty perfect game in the first half. It was a huge blowout.
But he means the second half, and Mike Williams would have made a difference in that second half. Mike Williams, for like, I know Keenan Allen.
There's
It's
plenty of
easy
games
for
where
us
Mike Williams disappears, guys. Like, and I'm not saying bad. I'm not trying to trash talk Mike Williams. He's the number 2 guy there, and maybe it would have made a slight difference. But I don't think that Mike Williams getting hurt in the end of that game changed the fact that the Jaguars went from having 5 turnovers in the first half to playing a near perfect second half and just blowing the Chargers team out of the water.
But it's also a fair question to say
team,
you give them an extra weapon, they maybe have one more better drive.
right, and so that's my point. Now, I would rather be going into this game and possibly, if they lose, going into Kansas City with Bradley Chubb chasing the quarterback.
And this is also a team that already lost
great.
Jalen Phillips. Like, let's not forget that they already lost one of their premier edge rushers.
You can't blame that one on the coach.
No, I'm not going on the blame coach perspective. I'm going on the just basic situation perspective of I've lost Jalen Phillips. Jalen Ramsey has been like, he dealt with injuries early in the season. We know he's not 100%. He's playing through some stuff. This defense is not 100% healthy. Vic Fangio has never been able to figure out Josh Allen. Even back to his Broncos days, he has always struggled against Josh Allen. If you look at Josh Allen's career numbers against Vic Fangio, pretty good. It would be a lot better if you had your best pass rusher in this game.
Absolutely. Look, and like I was saying before, this Miami team, especially on defense, they're hurt. They're missing more than just Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips. They have a lot of injuries. Unfortunately, it was something that they never were able to put together because they weren't never able to get healthy. But that defense actually has a huge plethora of stars also that I'm expecting them to be much better defensively next year. That being said, if it's not a close game, I don't expect the Dolphins to play this one all the way through.
Well, which is ironic because that's the same strategy they should have taken this past week and not played it all the way through when they were down by 30 goddamn points to the Ravens.
So I agree with you, but at the same time, weren't they down like 24 points last year in the fourth quarter to the Ravens?
But I think you could tell the offense was not making that kind of.
That was also week 2 versus week 17.
When you're supposed to give up when your offense is that hot against a team you've done this to before.
But I think it was very clear the offense was not getting.
He shouldn't have been in the game. I'm not arguing. I'm just saying, like,
I will say this. I think it's a bit of an extreme. Like, it's I say the goodwill thing as just a thing. Like, hey, Mike McDaniel, like, we know you're a good coach. We know, like, you. I'm not ringing the bell of getting rid of him. I think he should stay. But I do think it's one of those things where it's like, at the end of the day, you know how there are really good players that just can't show up when it matters the most? There are really good head coaches that they make a couple mistakes too often and it costs you. And I think it's a more fair point here where this was a big one on McDaniel that he messed up on. I think it's more than
playing this week.
I think he has to be.
Yeah. So
if he's not, I'd be shocked.
Here's the only way that I could foresee you justifying this. Was this defense championship caliber before the Bradley Chubb injury?
No, but I think that's because that's just the latest injury in a long line of injuries.
Right. So then I guess you could make that assertion that, listen, we were hampered on defense all year, and so we weren't going to be competing with the likes of the Ravens or the Niners or whatever. And I understand that, but hindsight's 2020, man, you know, and it's one of those things where it's just like there's a reason why the Browns aren't starting Joe Flacco this week.
But also let's just consider, I don't want to harp too much on this because I don't like it takes more than just the one injury, but like pass rushers can have a game where they break it open. And who's to say if Bradley Chubb gets like 2 sacks and a pressure in the first quarter against the Bills and he's forcing double teams on him and that frees up some of his teammates. I'm not talking about for the playoffs. I'm talking about for this game where the division is on the line, where the Dolphins haven't won this division in 15 years, I think, because they were the ones that won in the Tom Brady torn ACL season, correct?
Yes.
So like you're talking about, you get to win. It's not just winning the division. We talked about a number of teams here, ironically Buffalo being one of them, having to exercise demons of your franchise.
Yep.
This is a Dolphins team that by the end of Dan Marino's career, they were one of, if not the most successful organizations in the NFL in terms of prestige, in terms of history, in terms of win percentage. And this organization with this owner screwed that up for 2 decades to where this is the greatest legitimate Dolphins team since probably the end of Dan Marino's prime that has a chance to do this.
Yep.
And you lose your top pass rusher. Again, I'm not going to the extreme of we got to take a deep dive on Mike McDaniel. No, but what I am saying is that this is just one of those things where it's like you need it's one of these moments where it's like you gotta this will definitively be. I know you're not saying this, Justin, but this will definitively be a moment where Mike McDaniel's probably like, I should have made the call there. And this is one of those things where he's going to think about this next season when they're in this situation again, and he will learn from this mistake. Unlike Brendan Staley, I'm not going to conflate the two in terms of McDaniel's going to go down that dark path, but we need to now start putting terms on things. And I think Brendan Staley is going to be the coach that a lot of people put their name on in terms of when stuff like this happens, not taking your guys out, not going for the tie if you ever needed it, which I don't know how often that is going to happen, but let's just hypothetically state this is when these mistakes happen, we're going to say this is the Brendan Staley mistake. And it's just unfortunate that one of the best head coaches in the league happened to make this mistake.
And the final point that I want to make on this too is that, again, Miami wins this game, they're hosting at least 2 playoff games this postseason. And that's big.
Miami, and if an upset happens, they get a third.
Miami loses this game, they're hosting one.
On the road the entire way.
Unless the 7th seed pulls off a magical run, which has never happened before. Home field advantage in the playoffs is significant.
No, I agree. I was going to say, to be fair to 7th seeds, it's a pretty small sample size right now. We got to give it a little bit.
You know who was a 7th seed? Miami.
Very true. Last year, and they nearly did it.
With Skylar Thompson, of all people.
But no, I'm kind of with you guys. I think the three of us had to agree. If we had to go game by game with our predictions here, I think the three of us would agree. The Bills are probably taking this one. It just does not matter. Josh Allen against Tua, it does not look good for Tua. It just does not look good for him in his career. Josh Allen just
played well in some games with Miami. It's just last year, for example, in that snow game, they were running the ball like crazy, and Buffalo came back with a last-second drive just to take the lead and win the game. Yeah. And there have been close games. Now, their defense has never been so decimated as it has been in one of those games. It's not like Buffalo's defense is very healthy either. And now we're in Miami.
Yeah, so this can either be a 48-45 shootout or a lopsided affair, because I think both offenses have the ability to run, and Miami's offense got better with Mostert and with Achane. Their running game is a lot better than it was last year. And so this could be a high-scoring affair, which is what the NFL wants. But again, if you're Miami, you want to come out on top, because also I don't think you want to see Buffalo in the postseason. I don't think you want to. And there's a chance that could happen. So why not try and knock them out if you have the chance? I think if you're Miami, you want one team from this division in the postseason. Settle your differences with Baltimore in the conference title game if you get there, but do not have Buffalo be a stepping stone, because they will be a hurdle instead of a stepping stone.
It's going to be interesting to say, at the very least, then how all of the rest will affect these teams that are going to be doing rest. And that's probably going to be a conversation we have next week, because we all know the whole rest versus rust theory when it comes to this stuff. That being said, I think we've done a good job at going over the standing situation, boys. I think we've gone through the schedule. Is it time we move on to the main event? Is there any last comments either of you want to make?
Us. I will say this, and I do want to know one thing. This is not Justin. What are you hoping for on Sunday? Because the Jets are in a really weird spot, I think, because they win and they'll fall further down the draft order, right? But by winning, they will have beaten the Patriots for the first time in 8 years, and probably send Belichick out of New England, maybe with a loss. But a loss by the Jets improves their draft stock. What are you hoping for? What's your game going into Sunday? What do you think?
I mean, it's clearly better for the Jets to lose. I don't know whether or not they will. I mean, wouldn't it make the most sense for them to win the first game they win against the Patriots in 15 years be in 15 games? I don't think it's 15 years. In 15 games be the one that probably hurts them the most, which would be this one. That being said, I don't even who start. Is it Simeon? I don't think
Simeon. Yeah.
Zach is not cleared concussion protocol yet.
No, it's Simeon and I don't even know who their backup is at this point, but it's Simeon versus Zappy because Jones ain't starting.
Yeah, so I mean, we all know that we're out on Mac Jones will probably be done after this year as well.
Yeah,
they should literally be playing this game in 10 minutes. Like make it a Friday 4:45 game instead of a Sunday game. Stop wasting our time.
If we're being honest, it should be.
Stop wasting our time.
I do like the fact you guys brought up the quarterbacks here. So really quick, and this is both for you guys to just have the context, and also in case any people listen to this and they think to themselves, hey, maybe I want to place a couple bets on these games. The full breakdown of the quarterback clashes that you will be seeing for this weekend's games. I will run through these really fast. So for Steelers-Ravens, you have Mason Rudolph against Tyler Huntley. What a matchup. For Texans-Colts, you have C.J. Stroud against Gardner Minshew. For Jets-Patriots, and I'm just going on the order from this article that I'm reading, by the way. Jets-Patriots, you have Trevor Siemian versus Bailey Zappi, as we just mentioned. For Browns-Bengals, you have Jeff Driscoll against Jake Browning. Jeff Driscoll revenge game, anybody? For Vikings-Lions, you have Nick Mullins against Jared Goff. For Jaguars-Titans, you have, it says CJ, so this is funny. It says Trevor Lawrence / CJ Beathard. And for the Titans, it says Will Levis / Ryan Tannehill / Malik Willis. This is just pure comedy at this point. For Falcons Saints, you have either a injured Taylor Heineke who tries to play through it, or Desmond Ridder against Derek Carr. For Bucks Panthers, you have Baker Mayfield versus Bryce Young. You have Fields versus Love in Bears Packers. You have Jarrett Stidham against Aiden O'Connell in Broncos Raiders.
Just pause for a second. Jarrett Stidham versus the team that he was on last year.
Yes.
Right?
This is 2 years in a row that Jarrett Stidham is replacing a AFC West quarterback that is being just absolutely kiboshed by his respective.
Love it.
So, Kansas City Chiefs, if they sign Jarrett Stidham in this offseason or the next one, Patrick Mahomes is not going to
Jarrett Stidham is George Clooney and up in the air. He's been sent to fire the quarterbacks.
Indeed he has. Eagles Giants, you have Jalen Hurts against Tyrod Taylor. Seahawks Cardinals, you have Geno Smith versus Kyler Murray. Chiefs Chargers, you have Blaine Gabbert versus Easton Stick. That might be the worst quarterback matchup on the slate. Rams 49ers, you have Carson Wentz versus Sam Darnold. And then Cowboys Commanders, Dak Prescott versus Sam Howell. And of course, Josh Allen versus Tua for the last game of the season. There's a lot of dreck in those matchups. Oh, Lord.
This has been the year of the backup quarterback, so why not end it with some added dreck in Week 18? Hey,
man, with all these young, talented QBs that are coming into this next draft, maybe we might need more backup quarterbacks in this league considering all these injuries happening, huh?
I mean, the USFL and XFL contracted 8 of their franchises, so, there goes 8 possible places you could play. But I hear the Arena Football League's coming back, so you never know.
Hey, Niners game commenting on YouTube.
Niner game!
First off, by the way, first ever YouTube comment we got live on the show, so thank you, Niner game, for that. We very much appreciate that for you joining us on this. Carson Wentz versus Sam Darnold with the... You're right, man. You're not wrong. That is a matchup to say the very least.
Is that a battle of a number 2 pick versus a number 3 pick?
Yeah.
As backup quarterbacks in the NFL? Good God, what a terrible league this is.
Oh my God. And yay indeed, Niner game. Not for the quarterback matchup. No. None of us are yaying for that. Yay for you commenting on us live. We appreciate that, brother. Thank you very much for joining us on the program here. So with that being said, boys, I think it's time, right?
Oh, yeah.
It is time for the main event this week. There will be no rant podium, unfortunately, for the people. Sorry, guys. We need to give the Podfather a reprieve considering what is going to be ending the show this week. But, guys, it's time. It is the hashtag SAOC 2023 Pick Challenge finale. It is the Podfather at the bottom of the screen versus our Games Master here joining me at the top of the screen. Two guys who have their own different motivations for winning this. Rick, who finished 3rd in the standings last season, who for a while it was a very close call between him and our mascot last year's. Shout out to our guy Sandoval. Is back with a vengeance to try to make the ultimate comeback. But Justin might be the bigger one here because Justin made it to the finale last year. It was a close duel between the two of us and just fell that little bit short between everything. So it was tough, but now he's back. He's been first place for a while. He's had perfect weeks this season, ladies and gentlemen, and Justin is here to finish the story. So will Justin be Cody Rhodes? I think the answer is yes in this, but will Rick be Roman Reigns last year or potentially this year or next
Justin
year?
Will be the rubber chicken.
Instead.
That's what he'll be.
So, ladies and gentlemen,
Fighting words.
With that being said, we have the setup here, which it will be similar to what it was between Justin and I last season. So all 16 games in this slate will belong to these two. I will not be picking anything this week. I will help be the arbiter in this battle between these two titans of this 2023 season for us. It'll be 4-1 with AFC picks and 4-1 with NFC picks. And I believe, Rick, if we did it the same as last year, it's alternating like back and forth. So it's you, Justin, you, Justin, you, Justin. There's no snake format this time.
Well, for starters, too, I was also on the bottom between the two of you. So move your camera angle down to the bottom and put.
You know what? Give me a second. Filibuster for the people. Give me a second.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So no, and so yeah, we basically did alternating. We did no, you didn't. Nope, it was wrong.
I'm trying. Give me
wrong on your part. We basically alternate.
Is this what's important right now?
I don't know. It's something. We're killing time at the moment, But yes, so this is basically what it is. Justin, you survived last week because there was a bit of a tough week for you last week, man.
Yeah, you want to go over what I picked last week?
I would love to while we're filibustering and waiting for Jared to come back from the hole of nothingness here. You had Philadelphia as your 4-point pick.
I'm trying, man. It's not letting me get it.
Terrible. It's terrible at this.
I picked the Cardinals preseason.
Yeah.
That's one of the best picks I had all preseason.
Yeah.
And then it ended up, going against it because it was a game that they needed. I originally thought that it was a game that they weren't going to need, which is why I picked it.
So you had Philadelphia and your 4. Buffalo as your 3. Now that game for a while was back and forth because the Patriots started off on the kickoff return for Jalen Reagor for a touchdown. And it was back and forth for a while, even though Zappi threw 3 interceptions in the first quarter, basically.
It was kind of over by halftime, though, wasn't it? They were up like
the score was definitely closer than I think it might have been, but it was nervy for a bit there. And then you had Miami, your 2-point upset. But again,
I didn't like choice. I didn't like that game, but that was the only other game that I thought was possible.
Yeah, there were to be fair, all 4 of us lost our upset picks last week. So there was no like nothing at all that we could have done. And then Jacksonville was your 1 and Carolina just didn't show up. So that helped you out there. But that was only 4 points for you. Whereas going into the 2 later games, because I had San Francisco at 4, which they ended up winning that game over Washington. And then I had Chicago beating Atlanta, which held true to form. Going into that, I could have been tied because we have that bonus point for the perfect week. And then the Chargers just failed to show up against the Broncos. And then Jaron Hall / Nick Mullins decided to be just terrible in general. So, yeah, it was not ideal. But, yeah, it's not good. Not. So that's basically where we are. It's 111 to 107.
Closer than it was last year for the finals.
Oh, no, I don't know if you remember last year, because last year we had the DeMar Hamlin game. So we had that wheel spin. And it ended up being 2 points going into the final.
It's the reason I didn't have my all-time high score in my fantasy league. What a shame.
I mean, listen, what I will say, too, is that, all things being considered, thank God that we didn't have anything that traumatic happen in Week 17, because as amazing as that
was, won't have anything that dramatic ever again. But
no, absolutely. But I guess the point that I'm trying to make in that end is that, like, on all fronts, bookers, bettors, teams, permutations, calculators, math, we didn't have anything that crazy happen. So yeah, it's just not going to work. It's fine.
Yeah, I tried.
I'll be subjected to the bottom for all time. It's fine, whatever.
So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we are just about to get things going. But before we get things going, we got some fun here because we know the way that we're going to go is visitor gets to bat first in this. So Rick will get the first pick here. But which conference will we go with first? AFC, NFC. Now, we could just simply do a flip of the coin. We could, let's say...
AFC was last year. Could be NFC this year.
Could be. But that wouldn't be fun. That doesn't go with the title of the show. It's Sports Agents of Chaos. Let's get some chaos. Let's get some sports, but not NFL, ladies and gentlemen. My addiction comes in this episode because F1 trivia will decide which conference goes first here, ladies and gentlemen.
You may have a serious problem right now, man.
I 100% do. I 100% do.
You're also performing from inside the cloak of invisibility, so I don't know what the hell's going on.
Indeed. So while I will ask you each the first question, I will find a way to get a little bit of light in here because, good Lord, I need it. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the fun F1 trivia. And you know what? I'll be fair to the two of you right now. I'll only ask 3 questions. It'll be a best of 3 to see if you guys can figure it out.
We just give it to Rick. We know I'm not going to get these answers.
All right, never mind.
Come on now.
never mind. Okay, I'll ask the one easy one. Fine, you bunch of moochers. Okay, one easy question here, and you just need to give me a number.
6.
Guys, Ferrari has the most drivers' championships in F1 history. 15 drivers' titles won by the Scuderia. How many drivers have make up those 15 championship wins? I'm not asking you to give me the names. I'm saying of the 15 championship wins, how many drivers have won a championship for Ferrari to lead up to that number?
Just answer 8.
No. I'll give you each 3 chances here to go back and forth. So Justin said 8. He is wrong. Rick?
3.
No. Justin?
9.
Correct! He got it.
Yay.
9 drivers make up Ferrari's 15 drivers' championships. It's a lot, but it makes sense when you realize that I believe only 2 Ferrari drivers, from memory, have won more than once for the Scuderia to get them that. So, yeah, that being said, Justin, you get to decide. Do we go AFC first or do we go NFC first?
AFC?
Well, thank you for the confidence in that selection. Yeah. So, with that being said, as everything got completely kiboshed here, thanks to these two not wanting to play along, let's get going with it, ladies and gentlemen. Rick, you have the opening pick here in the finale of the show of the hashtag SAOC 2023 NFL Pick Challenge finale. Give us your 4-point pick in the AFC, and I will get some light in here.
I mean, this is why I kind of hate Week 18, because
it's the hardest week to pick.
It's the hardest week to pick.
Who's going to play and who's going to what they're playing for.
Right, and you also don't really know how what the level of competition is going to be on either side here. I will strike first with a game that I think will be a win. Obviously, that's why I'm picking it at 4. Duh. Language, English. I will try and tie the score up early. I will take Pittsburgh over Baltimore as my 4-point pick. I'm still mad that Tyler Huntley was a Pro Bowl quarterback last year, and I want to take it out of the Ravens because you've already clinched number 1 seed. What are you fighting for? Steelers have a lot more to play for. Give me the Steelers in this one.
And did they do? And they are favorited in this game as well, which, by the way, for the upset selections here, the lines are given to us by our friends from
ESPN Bet.
So and not Fanatics Sportsbooks.
If Fanatics opens a sportsbook,
they did. It's terrible.
They did? Oh, God.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Bad. Well, that being said, let's go from that. So, first selection made. Boom. Lock it in. Steelers over Ravens for the Podfather. Justin, give us your 4-point pick.
And it's got to be AFC, right?
Yes, AFC.
Well, that's what you picked, yes.
Yeah.
I was going to say, you're the one that decided this, Justin.
Well, because it would have been like more sportsman if it was like you could choose any of them for the 4-point pick. Like Rick could have gone NFC, and then I see like now he's got the best in each conference. But either way, anyways, I'm going to go with.
You were in this last year. How do you not know the format?
I don't even know what I had for breakfast this morning. All right. Like
that's a fair point.
Okay. I'm gonna go with the.
That's also your go-to, Justin. Do we have short-term memory issues here?
Yeah, definitely. I'm wearing a Dead and Company shirt.
There you go.
I have a history. Anyways, I'm gonna go with the Jaguars over the Titans. They're the one team with a winning record playing a team with a losing record that has something to play for, and that generally bodes well. Plus, the Titans, they've struggled offensively this year, and the Jaguars' defense has been able to make teams punish been able to punish teams that make it easy on them. So,
well, the Jags play has also allowed some teams to make punishment on them, so you're not entirely wrong anywhere in there. Same with the Titans. So, to be fair. All right. For 4-point picks off the board for each of them, both going with a favorite in this one. Rick, with your 3-point pick, what do we got?
Just so we're clear here, Trevor Lawrence, iffy to play on Sunday?
Yes.
Not
Iffy,
necessarily playing it.
Yeah, but the belief is that he's going to try to force his way into this game. Like, he's trying to play and do all he can.
Well, then let's just book Cleveland into the divisional round then, shall we? I think. Do that instead. You don't get here by not taking chances, as I always say. And so give me the Jets. 3-point upset pick over New England. Because as much as I'm not a Jets fan anymore, I think I want to see this. I want to see the Jets win against New England for the first time in 8 years. Even if it means their draft stock's terrible. Look, if you want an offensive lineman, there's plenty to go around in this draft coming up. Might not be a top-tier guy. Don't draft J.C. Latham because, Alabama. You see the barn door opening? But there's plenty of offensive linemen to go around, and this is more about just winning this game and for pride. And give me the Jets at 3 points.
I know that somebody was going to have to take them, but you don't learn. Don't bet on the Jets. All right.
Well, as Jurg learned, don't bet against the Jets either.
Yeah, I learned 2 difficult lessons on that this year. Don't bet against the Jets.
When the Jets are involved, you don't bet.
Yeah.
And if you have to bet, you bet as little as possible.
I mean, look, I'm second place in this. I made it here. I took a risk.
I'm just happy to be involved.
Exactly.
Anyways, I'm gonna go with the team that I think has to play for something, and the only team left. That's not true. The only team left playing for division is the Bills and the Dolphins. I'm gonna go with the Bills on my 3-point pick.
So I avoided that for a very specific reason, and I think you know why. Because I have Miami preseason winning this game over Buffalo. So I was thinking about taking them at 3. I think they can win. I know we talked about them not being able to, but I think they can throw a surprise out there. But
look, with an offense like that, you have the ability to win any game. The issue is, can they stay stout on defense? And I just think the Bills are going to come in. They've got something to prove, and I don't know how the Dolphins are going to stop them.
I agree. So where I'm torn right now is that if Noah Brown was playing, I'd have a little more confidence in the Texans over the Colts because obviously no Nico Collins, no Noah Brown, no Tank Dell. So you're relying on John Mechie and Xavier Hutchinson. I get C.J. Stroud's a great quarterback and all, but that just doesn't really.
Isn't Robert Woods there too? What about Robert Woods?
Bobby Trees?
There's a reason why I didn't say his name.
Hey, maybe this could be the Bobby Trees game. 153 yards.
It could be. Touchdowns. It could be. Bobby Trees is Sammy Watkins week 18. You never
start him in your fantasy game, ladies and gentlemen. He might get you some points. Please don't do that. Please don't.
Don't do that.
Nobody listen to Jerk.
Hey, I've made it to a fantasy final before.
I believe you.
Well,
I lost
in this situation,
but
the problem is that I don't like any of my other AFC picks.
So real quick, if I may, for the people, just a halfway point in the AFC selections, ladies and gentlemen. So Rick went with the Steelers over the Ravens as his 4-point pick, which is not an upset. The Steelers are favored going into this game. And he went with the Jets over the Patriots for his 3-point upset. Justin went with the Jaguars over the Titans for his 4-pointer, and the Bills over the Bills over Dolphins for his 3-pointer. So I think some pretty good selections so far. I think arguably, if this had been like a 3-way battle, I would be willing to also bet that those 4 AFC games would have been the most tantalizing to select. I think now you start to get into trickier territory when it comes to all these ones.
Yeah. See, it's tough because, again, like I said, week 18, you don't really know because, even though the Browns aren't starting Joe Flacco, they could still – 12 wins is a nice consolation prize for this team. It really is. And that's the thing is that they're not starting Joe Flacco. Are they starting any of their other key players? I don't know. So I could take Cincinnati there. The Chargers over the Chiefs. Now you told me that Mahomes not playing and is Blaine Gabbert. Does that factor in anything? They're locked into the 3 as it is too, right? They're not going to fall to the 4. Denver, Las Vegas doesn't matter.
Well, I will say this. I just looked it up right now, and it says Myles Garrett headlines the Browns players who won't be playing against the Bengals.
Okay, then you know what? I will take Cincinnati at 2 then. Listen, Jake Browning's been a nice story. And then on a high note before you go back to quarterback irrelevancy when Burrow comes back next year. So, and honestly, for the Bengals, it actually works out for them too because their guys, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, their wide receivers, their starters, T. Higgins specifically, this is his last chance to play a big game if he's playing before his contract runs out. So you're talking about a guy who could go into the free agency period on a high, and that could get him a lot of money in free agency. So give me the Bengals over the Browns. It means nothing to either team, but give me the Bengals.
Yes, but that game could mean a lot for the standings of this. We'll see how it's impacted. Justin has not selected an upset yet, so he must go with an upset here with his 2-pointer. The rules still apply for both the AFC and the NFC portion separately, so you can't just go one total upset between these 8 picks. You must pick at least 2. So with that being said, what do we have here for your 2-point upset, Justin?
Again, I'm going with needs. Now, Rick's right. If the receivers were healthy and, this team was firing on all cylinders, then I might have gone that way. But with a rookie quarterback coming off of a long stint of injury, I think he did play last week, but it was up and down, and he doesn't have a lot of his top weapons. And the Colts have just been good. They've been good defensively. They understand this team. They already beat them once in the season. I'm going to go with the Colts as the home underdog here.
So Colts over Texans for the upset.
Yeah, I think they've been well coached this year. Gardner Minshew is playing very well. He might actually end up as a starting quarterback somewhere next year for a team in need. Just all signs point to the Colts to me for now.
Yeah, more than fair. All right, we are reaching the end here of the AFC portion. The 1-point picks now. Rick, what is your 1-point AFC pick?
Isn't it so ironic that the last division that we spoke of, or one of the last divisions we spoke of, is the 1-point picks?
Yep. Broncos, Raiders, and Chargers, Chiefs.
Yuck and yuck. You know what? Let's do something nice for somebody who I think deserves it. Let me just. Well, I already gave you the championship as it is. Let's be real here. No, you know what? Let's do something nice for someone who deserves it. Let's give Gift Smith his first win as an NFL head coach. I'll take the Chargers over the Chiefs at 1 point.
Okay, so this locks in Broncos Raiders as the game that Justin must select. Who will he be selecting?
Just because I think it would be funny for the Broncos to have a winning record and miss the playoffs after all the turmoil that they've had. I want them to be bad, but I want them to be bad in the worst way for them, and that's by having a worse draft pick and going 9-8.
Nice. So Broncos over Raiders concludes Justin's 1-point pick. And that concludes the AFC here. So as we're about to move on to the NFC, I'll give you both a second to recollect, regroup, and get your picks in order. For Rick, with his 4-point pick, it is the Steelers over the Ravens. With his 3-point pick, it is the Jets over the Pats. With his 2-point pick, it is the Bengals over the Browns. And with his 1-point pick, it is the Chargers over the Chiefs. For Justin, with his 4-point pick, Jags over Titans. 3-point pick, Bills over Dolphins. 2-point pick, Colts over Texans in that deciding factor for the AFC South. And for the 1-point pick, it is the Broncos over the Raiders. So that does that. The AFC is now set in stone. But now, ladies and gentlemen, we have one more conference here. We have 8 more games. It is the NFC's time to shine, which means, Rick, you once again get the proceedings going off here with your 4-point selection.
If I'm going to have any chance at all, and I might have just blown it with my 3-2-1, let's be real here. But if I'm going to have any chance whatsoever, I got to take the game that has the biggest point spread. And we're not playing by point spreads. But I got to take the game that I think is most, and that will be Dallas over Washington, my 4-point pick.
I really wanted that game, but I was worried. And let me tell you why. Because if you remember last season, miraculously after that huge winning streak, the last week of the year, the Eagles actually had not clinched the division.
Right.
and it was really close. And the Eagles almost lost the final game of the year. Now, it wouldn't have mattered because they won the final game of the year anyways, I believe.
Yeah, well, Davis Webb was starting for the Giants, so I mean,
But Dallas had a serious chance to come in and snatch that division out from Philadelphia. And they went into a bad Washington team who was struggling all year long and dropped an egg. They lost to Washington badly. If you remember, they were blown out in that game.
Yep.
And that's what worries me about that game. So, I mean, you couldn't really have gone wrong, Cowboys or Eagles. Those are obviously the two games that we're going to end up fighting over. I'm going to end up going with the Eagles here as the 4-point pick. It's a must-win game for them. They need to try and win the division. There's a huge difference between the 5 seed and the 2 seed in the NFC.
And also these games happening at the same time means that in theory you both should be getting the best of your teams in this one. So
my concern too is that, again, we talk about Kansas City and we talk about how they're not the Kansas City they were last year. Now there's Philadelphia, man. And the Eagles, they dropped an egg last week against the Cardinals. They did not. They almost allowed the Giants to come back. And this game is at MetLife. I don't know. To me, it's a little funky. So I avoided that one also because in preseason I had the Giants winning this game. So I avoid games for reasons. I'll put it.
Yeah, but you had the Giants winning this game because it didn't matter. It mattered for the Giants, and it didn't matter for the Eagles.
I believe so. I think Justin's right there. I think that
the Eagles had already clinched, and the Giants were vying for a playoff spot.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. If I can find my,
now it's the Eagles have not clinched yet. The Giants are eliminated. It's a major difference. And
of course,
who's starting? Tyrod Taylor?
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
but as you know, I don't stray. Like if I like a pick in, I like a pick in.
Pick is a pick, but you also have to take into account your reasoning. Now I know you just go for the pick anyways, but to me,
Rick will go down with the ship. Rick in the past life
Eagles are a definite win here, but I know Rick's going down the ship. I'm not saying the Eagles. I could see the Eagles dropping this game. They've dropped games that I was sure of before.
Yeah,
but
same.
They're not the same Eagles team that they were last year. They're just not.
No, they're not. And my thing is too, like, I'd like to avoid potentially facing a team that's going to be on a hot streak coming in as the 7 seed, or a team that I've already seen who beat me once as a 7 seed.
And just to add to my last AFC pick, the Raiders have just ruled out Josh Jacobs.
Oh, Josh Jacobs is out?
There you go.
So who's your starting running back then? Amir Abdullah?
Amir White?
Amir Abdullah.
Samir White. The Abdullah Oblongata.
All right, threes.
So the reason why I talk about Philadelphia avoiding this one is because there's 2 games here that I'm looking at that I'm thinking one of these teams will probably be the 7 seed. And I just got to determine which one I'm going to go with here. And Jared, can you give me quickly the permutations for the NFC wild card? We know the 5's locked in, and we know the Rams are probably locked in. What has to happen for the Seahawks, the Packers, and the Vikings? If you have that, you can pull that up.
So when it comes to the Vikings, they need the Packers to lose. They need to win themselves, and they need the Seahawks to lose because you got 2 8-8 teams and a 7-9 team.
Correct.
When it comes to the Packers and Seahawks, from what I am seeing right now, they have equal conference records. So if the next tiebreaker in that is, I believe it might be common games.
Yep.
I want to say at the moment the Packers have the edge here. Let me confirm that because I can expand it here to confirm that thought for you.
Okay.
So yes, the Packers win the tiebreaker over Seattle based on strength of schedule on that. So for the Seahawks need to win and they need the Packers to lose because the Seahawks actually hold the tiebreaker against the Saints for that. And then for the Packers, I believe the Packers is a simple
Packers is winning in. Yeah.
Yes.
So
the Saints can make the playoffs as a wild card too, right?
They need a lot to go their way though because both
they just need
Packers
Green Bay and Seattle to lose, and they
need
Minnesota as well.
No, Minnesota's 7-9. If New Orleans wins and Green Bay and Seattle lose, it doesn't matter what Minnesota does.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The Saints need to win their game no matter what to give them a shot at either the division or the wild card.
Yeah, sure.
And then they need 2 other results to go their way to potentially get the wild card.
Sure. Okay. You know what? There's a game on here that's tantalizing to me. But if this were a different me, I would have taken this. I would have taken Carolina in this spot as an upset pick over Tampa. If it were a different me, because I'm still waiting for the Baker Mayfield drop-off game.
That was yesterday. That was last week.
True, but I'm still back-to-back performances. Even though I picked Green Bay to beat Chicago preseason, the Bears are just riding high right now, man. And they're locked into the number 1 overall pick no matter what happens because they have their own Carolina's pick. So nothing I think would be better for the Bears than to beat Green Bay and make them miss the playoffs, which is why I'm going to take Seattle at 3 points over Arizona. Yes, Kyler Murray played great last week, but the Seahawks are playing for a lot more. They need to go out there and prove that that last year wasn't a fluke. And Jared, for your money, future Ring of Honor candidate Geno Smith needs back-to-back playoff appearances to further cement that legacy of Ring of Honor status. So,
hold on. Time out, real quick. So, Seahawks officially your 3-pointer, yes?
Officially, yes.
Okay. He's the quarterback after Russell Wilson and way more likable. He's already getting in the Ring of Honor, baby. Now it's all about the jersey retirement.
But Drew Lock did beat the defending NFC champions. So
he did, and Drew Lock will get a nice, care package when he is no longer a Seahawk. But
just please not notable arrangement. Those things go bad after 2 weeks.
Geno Smith is definitively in the Ring of Honor. Book it.
Okay, all right. Well, give me the Seahawks over the Cardinals then at 3 points.
But there's that. Yes, Justin. I don't care if I was feeling bad for him a week ago with the Broncos thing.
I didn't say a thing.
No, but your face was just like how deep can the hatred go? And the answer is plenty.
Pretty deep.
No, I'm more concerned about putting a winless playoff quarterback into a Ring of Honor. Anyways.
Calm down there, Jets fan. Throwing stones in a glass house.
I don't have any quarterbacks in my Ring of Honor, just one, and he was a losing record quarterback.
You would take Geno Smith over some of your guys right now.
He couldn't care less about the team sucking. I want to kiss you.
Anyways, I'm very torn with my pick here. Very, very torn. Because do I go with the better team, in my mind, who's the better team? Or do I go with the better matchup?
You tell us.
See, the difference is I don't think that there's a huge difference in the team level. So I'm going to go with the matchup. And I am going to pick the Bucs over the Panthers in a must-win game.
Makes sense. Because
a loss is an elimination for them. Does Baker have the stones to be a playoff quarterback? We've seen it before. This is his cementing game. If he loses this game, do the Bucs want to bring this guy back?
Yeah, that's a legitimate question because even though the Buccaneers have said that they like Baker and they would be interested in keeping him, you got to get them in the playoffs. You got to win them the division.
Baker's had a comeback player of the year type year. His stats have been excellent. He wins last week, and they are sealed as division winners. But he laid an egg.
Yep.
He was bad last week, and there's only so many games when the pressure is down. When the chips are down, there's only so many games like that you can lose. And if you're going to lose 2 in a row, when you had control of the division and you gave it up after beating the Jaguars.
Yep. After beating the Jaguars, after some of the performances they had this season, which include that absolute shootout that they had with the Texans earlier on this season.
Yeah. But that being said, I'm going to pick the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
There it is. So we have halfway point of our NFC picks, ladies and gentlemen. Rick has picked Dallas over Washington with his 4 and Seattle over Arizona with his 3. Justin has picked Eagles over the Giants with his 4 and Buccaneers over Panthers with his 3. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. None of those have been upset picks, correct?
No.
So we must have upset picks here with both of their 2-point picks, ladies and gentlemen. And this is the tough part because I felt the same way in the AFC portion. Not a lot of tantalizing upset picks here.
No, see, again, this is why it's tough for me. Because I have 3 upsets here that I could choose from that I picked last year. The problem is that there's 2 that I like, and there's one where I'm going to piss somebody off.
I don't know
So
who you're gonna piss off.
Is it someone on the show?
no, well, sort of. Yes, they just made their debut today on the show.
Oh no! Don't do it to our
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah, but okay, but
We have officially lost the first ever live YouTube commenter in show history with Rick now.
no, we haven't because I haven't made that pick yet, but it's there. See, the problem is that my other upset picks are Minnesota over Detroit,
Yes.
which if the Lions were locked in as the 3 seed, or if they didn't have an outside shot at the 2, I think that Goff wouldn't be starting this game,
Right.
but he is. And then I have Atlanta over New Orleans.
You see, I'm surprised that's not where you're going immediately, because that's the one game that you've been ringing the bell the whole time, all season.
I have been, but the fact that Jerg said an injured Taylor Heineke was going to try and gut it out, or Desmond Ridder, who we know is not ready for this. Well, listen, they were my team. And if I'm going to go down with the ship, at least I went down with the team that I have fought for this entire time. Give me the Falcons at 2 over the Saints. Let's do it. Let's lock it in.
Falcons over the Saints with his upset pick, ladies and gentlemen. Only 3 games remain to pick from. Justin up here with his 2 must be an upset pick.
And I'm going to be the bad guy here, and I'll tell you why.
Oozing machismo like Razor Ramon.
I'll tell you why. This is a must-win game for the Rams, and I know that they're pretty much locked into their playoff spot. But if you have a choice between going into Detroit and going into Dallas, I think I'm right in going into Detroit.
Especially because Dallas beat the Rams earlier.
I'm not risking going into Dallas as the 7th seed and trying to make history being the first 7th seed to come in and win a game. I don't think that's going to happen. So that being said, I think it's a must-win game. The Niners have nothing to play for right now. There's no point. None of their starters will be in.
Yep.
McCaffrey's out. Purdy's out.
Dude, they're going third stringers on a couple of these.
They're not going to go IU. Yeah, the Kittle will be out. These guys are all going to be out. So it is something to play for LA. It's nothing to play for the 49ers, and to me that just spells upset.
Niners gang, I would like to say for the record, last season the Niners were my consistent pick in this when the season still mattered, and this season it's been between Niners and Eagles for Justin. We are a pro.
It has nothing to do with whether or not I like the Niners. It means nothing. In fact, he should be happy that the Niners are being considered as an upset in Week 18, because it means that they are already sealed in as the top team in the NFC. There's nothing to play for them.
Justin, I know, but play ball with me here. I'm trying to keep our viewers. Rick loses us people in international countries.
Listen, I'm not going to dumb down my content. I know that Niners fan here knows football and knows that this is a meaningless game, and it shouldn't matter if the Rams win. I understand thinking like, all right, my third stringers are better than the Rams, clearly. But, the Rams, they have something to play for. Stafford's a veteran.
Very true, very true. All right. Well, Carson Wentz is playing.
Which is another reason
why
he's
a veteran from the sideline. What are you talking about? I know who's playing.
Which is another reason why I was contemplating and I avoided this game too. Now that I thought about it, because if it was Matt Stafford, this would have been a much easier decision. But Carson Wentz does not instill any confidence in me whatsoever.
Carson Wentz playing backups though, I feel like he could do.
Real quick, the final 2 games on the docket here, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is the case. It is the NFC North. Both those games are here. Packers, Bears, and Lions, Vikings.
Who you got, Rick?
Right?
Jesus.
I gotta say, personally, I'm surprised neither of you have picked the Lions because they have that outside shot at the 2nd seed. I'm expecting them to rough shot over the Vikings here because they're angry and they're motivated to try to play for something. They still have something
to be in shambles right now.
That too. It's almost like the Vikings should have traded a pass rusher at the deadline with how their season ended up.
Because that would have made the difference in their season.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That would have saved Kirk Cousins from his Achilles injury.
Yeah, it would have actually.
I have one rule, and that is to never deviate from the picks that I've made preseason. And so God forgive me from what I'm about to do here.
Can I just say really fast, Rick, real quick, you, in your past life, you were the captain of the Titanic because ain't no way anyone is this loyal to what they make.
Rick, 18 weeks in, and you're going to do on the last pick of the pick challenge.
Which, for all we know, Rick,
You're
this
going to
could
deviate?
decide things.
No. I was no. The point that I was trying to make before you two yokels interrupted me was 18 weeks in, I have not deviated, and I cannot believe that I'm about to do this. But give me the Packers at 1 point over the Bears. I locked it in preseason.
Oh my goodness!
And I know I'm a Bears fan, anointed this season, and I've sunk in my chair because I can't believe that I just did this. But I had the Vikings over the Lions, guys, and I'm not doing that either. So, rocking a hard place.
Justin, can I just write down Lions for you? Because I'm assuming that's
you can. I see the Lions were actually. I'm sorry, the Packers were actually the other team that I was really concerned about at my 3-point pick. That's who I was going to take, and then I couldn't take the upset, so they were only going to be there for me at my 1. That's who I was hoping to get was the Packers because I do think that they were the best team vying for a playoff spot left out of everyone that we spoke about. So I think that's a good pick by Rick, even though he should have picked the Bears, man. You should have deviated. Pick 76. You should have deviated, or you should have picked the Vikings. That would have been either way. I would have been fine with it.
What do I always say? 1 point picks, they don't matter, right? But
they do.
But what if it comes down to that 1 point pick, man?
I think 1 point picks mattered between Justin and I last year.
No, it didn't.
No,
you were strictly in the lead. We came up with this format to give me a chance to win.
Yeah, very
and
true.
then Levy Smith screwed me in overtime. I think I would have lost either way, though.
All right, so I have a question real quick for you two. So this obviously all depends, and we did this as a precaution in case last year as well. So I'm assuming we're doing the same thing this year.
Mm-hmm.
The national championship game is being played Monday the 8th after these games. If by chance things end up in a tie after this weekend, Washington, Michigan is the game. Rick, did we make that just a 1-pointer between Georgia and TCU last year? Or was it worth 2 points?
1-pointer.
It's just a tiebreaker.
1 point.
Yeah.
Whoever gets it wins.
Tiebreaker.
Yep.
So tiebreaker between you two. Now, because Rick got both of the picks between the AFC and the NFC, Rick, I think it's fair if we give Justin the first pick here. So are you cool with that?
I have no problem with that.
So Justin,
last year
you will get
but I think it was because it was an obvious team who we were going to pick.
Well, I mean, I was still holding out hope for TCU, but I mean, yeah, it was Georgia.
It was obvious. So with that being said, Justin, for the potential tiebreaker scenario here between Michigan and Washington, who are you picking as your pick in the national championship game?
I would piss a lot of my friends off by picking Washington right now, but I'm going to pick Michigan. I think Michigan's the better team. I think they're the more complete team, and we'll see. What you wanted Washington?
I'm actually very happy that you made that pick. Yeah, because I would have literally vomited on camera if I had to take Michigan in this game. So
it's very true.
So I'm thrilled. Bow down to Washington because I follow the Huskies mascot on Twitter now. Thank God. I'll take that.
Can I switch?
No.
I want to see.
Don't break my heart.
On camera.
No.
I was excited.
No. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let me summarize it.
Taking this episode.
Let me summarize it for the people here. Let me summarize it for everyone here, guys. In the finale of this season's pick challenge, this is what we have. The Podfather for his AFC picks. At 4, he got the Steelers. At 3, he has the Jets. At 2, he has the Bengals. And at 1, he has the Chargers. With his NFC picks, at 4, he has Dallas. At 3, he has Seattle. At 2, he has the Falcons. And at 1, he has the Green Bay Packers over his team, the Bears. And if it comes down to a tiebreaker, he is riding with the Washington Huskies, the last ever Pac-12 team to have a chance at winning the college football playoff. Is it destiny for Washington? Just like could it be destiny for the Podfather? Meanwhile, Justin, the points leader heading into this, the man that is trying to finish his story, his selections here in the AFC. At 4, he picked the Jaguars. At 3, he picked the Bills. At 2, he picked the Colts. And at 1, he picked the Broncos. In the NFC, Eagles over the Giants. He picked the Buccaneers to clinch the NFC South over the Carolina Panthers. He picked the Rams over the San Francisco 49ers for his 2-pointer. And he picked the Detroit Lions to defeat the Minnesota Vikings with his 1. And for his CFP National Championship Game selection. He picked the Michigan Wolverines. So with terminating the NFC South head coaches, Justin has welcomed Jim Harbaugh back into the NFL with that selection. So boys, that being said, all the picks have been made. The tiebreaker is decided. All that is left is for the games to be played. So with that being said, any final words of hope and prayer that either of you want to say before we head into the weekend?
Just, good luck to my competitor, and
Oh, you're such a damn politician.
hopefully,
Such a damn politician.
hopefully, I hope things end up good for you, Rick.
I can't tell if he was trying to write something or if he's just, thinking
did.
of what to say.
I did right here.
All I'm gonna say is
Oh, look at that.
I made it this far, and so a lot of people counted me out to start the year, and I made it to the final, like TCU, and so whatever happens, happens. But if I win, you're never gonna hear the end of it. Never. I will change your name from now on to Owen Tootin.
Rick,
Just Owen 2.
Can you do me a favor?
Sure. What's up?
Can you put on that Cole Strange jersey?
Oh, that's right. You said you were going to wear the Cole Kmet shirt that you got for this episode.
If they had a chance at the playoffs.
Oh,
they were eliminated.
Weak.
Yeah,
Thanks, Packers.
Weak. Well, anyways, that being said, ladies and gentlemen, one of these two gentlemen will join me in the hall.
Have we decided what jersey that Jerg is going to get?
That's for future weeks. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for joining us on this edition of the Sports Agents of Chaos podcast. One of these two men will join me in the Hall of Champions this upcoming weekend, and maybe we'll pop some champagne, maybe we'll celebrate, maybe we'll have a trophy for the winner. It's in the budget. Maybe, potentially, we'll see the non-existent budget we have on the show. With that being said, thank you so much for joining us on what was a very fun edition of the Sports Agents of Chaos podcast. 90 episodes in. Oh, dear Lord. We are 10 away from 100. How are we close to the century mark? Man. Oh, man, how time flies. So, with that being said, good luck to these two amazing compatriots of chaos that I always get to share this with. And by the way, this was the first episode of the new year, so happy new year to you all. Let's have an amazing 2024. 2023 ended, I'd like to think, on a relatively fine note. Let's make 2024 a absolutely spectacular year for all of us, and let's hope for an outstanding 2024 NFL playoffs. And, of course, a new champion crowned on this program that is headlined, as always, by fun, football, and chaos. Thank you, beautiful people, and we'll see you all next week.